some people around here call me Doc Murphy. I'm a doctor of hydrology. I can't treat you. I can treat your plumbing and your water supply, but I can't treat you. So, but I do have a radio, as she said. So, anyway, I just want everyone to kind of look around them for a little while and just sort of see where we are, because this is a beautiful, perfect location for making Western movies. We've got the Whetstone Mountains over there. We got the Dragoons over there. We've got the Rincon Range back here. We've got the San Pedro River running down the middle of it. So we're in a great spot. And back in the 40s and 50s, a lot of Hollywood folks came out here and realized that. And originally, this spot we're standing on was just a big bunch of state land. But it was used for big, wide open scenes, like I was just describing it. We had Winchester 73 with Jimmy Stewart out here. One of the iconic westerns that Anthony Mann put together. We had Cimarron with Glenn Ford that was shot out here, and several others that wanted that big scene. So in 1960, well, let me back up a second. In the 50s, Old Tucson got started, okay? And it was a perfect set for a lot of the movies that were shot there. A lot of the John Wayne movies were shot there with the mountains in the background. And original Gunfight at OK Corral was shot out there. The Empire Ranch over that way was used for some great movies, Red River and so on. But in 1969, a fellow by the name of Billy Fraker, who had been a cameraman up to now and would be again, directed his one and only movie out here, and that was Monty Walsh. Now this is the original Monty Walsh. This is the Monty Walsh that has Lee Marvin and Jack Palance in it. Okay, so don't pay attention to that TV movie with Tom Selleck in it. That's another version. Monty Walsh was here, and what Fraker wanted was he wanted a wide open area to build this town, the set for this town. It was too tight, too close in Old Tucson. He wanted something that could spread out. He wanted to be able to see through the town and see the mountains and the prairies behind. And so that's why he chose this spot. And he started building these buildings here, mostly on this side of the street. He was shooting in that direction with the mountains in the background. So that was the birth of Mescal. And the town was called Harmony, and it was called the Harmony Set. And after that movie was over, they were just going to tear it down and return the land to its original state. But the owners of Old Tucson decided they needed a second set. They needed a different sort of set. One of the things, how many people here have been to Old Tucson?
I used to work there.
Oh, there you go. Okay, good.
I was in the Red Dog Saloon and fishnets and feathers in my hair and all that.
I wish I'd seen that.
Years ago.
Anyway, 40 years ago, I was more presentable too, so we'll just leave that where it lies. But anyway, so so Old Tucson said, well, we need a second set. We need something. So, what I was going to say actually was, what's the big difference between this landscape and Old Tucson?
Wide open.
Oh, there's mountains here. It's wide open here.
The
How about
cactus?
Bay? Saguaros. There's no saguaros here. Okay, so this could be anywhere. This could be Wyoming, which it was once. This could be anything. So that was the big attraction, was you could film any Western out here and you didn't have to hide the saguaros. So anyway, after Monty Walsh and after Old Tucson absorbed this site, that was the big heyday of Mescal. And from the 70s to the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, there was a tax incentive that helped movie makers make movies here in, not airplane movies, but westerns here in southern Arizona. So Mescal became a big attraction for Hollywood. And some of the movies I'll be talking about. Hi, let's all wave. Hi, spoil the shot. Anyway. So a lot of movies were made in that period of time. Then the tax incentive went away, and the number of pictures went down. Although a lot of things were shot out here, the big budget Hollywood movies started going to New Mexico. Well, last year the tax incentive came back, and we should all support that. That's going to bring the movies back to southern Arizona here and other places around, and maybe even new places that haven't been built up yet. So it's going to be very exciting. And we're very excited about that. We have productions here all the time. In fact, you need to check with the website to make sure that we're not filming something out here for your tours. So, you know, when you tell people to come out here, tell them to check that out. So anyway, enough talk. Let's go look at some of these buildings, and I'll tell you about some of the things, the trivia that took place. By the way, do we have any Western movie buffs here in the crowd? A few?
I've seen a few Western movies. I don't know. None of them.
Okay, there you go. And then people that were dragged here by their, yeah, okay. Okay. Well, I'm hoping that everybody will know more about Western movies and movie making in general at the end of this tour. So come on with me.
You ever think about butterflies in the desert?
So when a Western movie starts off, first thing that happens is what happens? The cowboy brings his horse into town, quarters his horse in the horse hotel, okay, the livery stable. What? This is our great livery stable. Does anybody recognize the name above the door there?
Yes.
Yes, you do? I mean,
Red Wolverton.
Yeah, you're going
And
to...
his house just burned.
You should answer the question. You're going to spoil all my quizzes. Yes, but you're right, Red Wolverton, and this is a sad story because we dedicated this building to Red Wolverton just last fall. And a fantastic guy, a stagecoach driver, and all-around cowboy, and stuntman for the movies. He's in his 90s, and he lives over at 3 Points, just to the west of Tucson. And unfortunately, a couple of weekends ago, his house burned down. There's a GoFundMe site. If you get on our on our Facebook page, you'll get led to the GoFundMe site. We're trying to, you know, drum up money to help out the Wolvertons because they lost everything. Not only did they lose all their possessions, they lost years and years of movie memorabilia. So, you know, it was a very sad thing that happened. We hope somehow we can cheer them up a little bit. Anyway, this is our livery stable. Come on in. This is one of the very important things about Mescal, if you're talking to your Hollywood friends back home, is we have great interiors. Our buildings aren't just false fronts, which they usually are, you know, in movies. We have interiors that they can go in and they can shoot through the building and out of the building and all that kind of good stuff. This building was part of the beginning of a movie that starred Steve McQueen. It was his last movie before he passed away. Does anybody know the name of that movie?
Tom Horn.
Yes, Tom Horn. Tom Horn, a true life character of southern Arizona, a scout and a soldier and so forth. In his later life of his life, he went to Wyoming and became a cattle detective, as he called it. He was running down rustlers. So the movie Tom Horn is about that part of his life. And in the movie, he rides into town, he quarters his horse here in the barn, I think it was that stall, the middle stall there. And he tells the stable boy that it's a mean horse. He's got to watch out for it. Now the stable boy in that movie was also a very famous actor, just like Steve McQueen, although much older. The The stable boy was, did anybody ever see the Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart? Remember Wilmer the Gunsel? He gets slapped around, he's a kid, and Humphrey Bogart slaps him around, okay? Okay, that actor, I always forget his name at this point of the tour. Elisha Cook Jr.
Oh.
Great old film noir movie guy. He plays the stable boy. So when you're watching Tom Horn at home, and I know you're all going to run home and watch all these movies when you get home, look for him, and remember the fact that, you know, he was the kid in Maltese Falcon.
Well, if I have a question, how many
Yes.
credits do you have for your name?
How many credits do I have?
You weren't, they don't.
I was,
They don't use you when you're here?
I'm on the cutting room floor. One more thing I want to.
Trying to figure out the plumbing, Gary.
One more thing I want to point out to you is that clock in the corner. Now, nobody spoiled this, because I just want everyone to remember that clock, and later we'll talk about it again, so.
Where's the clock?
Right in the corner of the,
Oh, it's down on the ground.
Oh, okay, I see it.
that's the future. There hasn't been horses in here for a while, so you can breathe in the audience without any fear of offending your nose.
Perfect.
Here, I can't get to it.
Let's keep moving. We've got a lot more to do.
It's Florence.
So, uh-oh, a desperado's falling in with us. Yeah, I got my eye on him.
Yes, sir.
Looks mean.
It does.
All right. Talking about the beginning of great movies, another movie starts out right around in here. Okay, it actually starts out in Old Tucson, but then it transitions to here. In 1993, two movies were made about the most famous gunfight in southern Arizona history, and I want everybody to yell it out right now. It's called
Tombstone.
Tombstone, right?
Oh, Tombstone.
Bang. Okay, so Tombstone, which was filmed here in Mescal, a little bit of it in Old Tucson, the very beginning when they get off the train, and a few others. There's a mission scene at the beginning too. But at the beginning of the Tucson part of Tombstone, or the Tombstone part of Tombstone, the Earp brothers and their wives are coming into town on their wagon. They pass by Boot Hill. They come in and they turn and they go down the main street of town. This would be this street here, okay? This would be the main street of Tombstone in the movie. Allen Street is what it's called if you've been to Tombstone. So they come in, they make that turn, and then they come down the road here where they all get off the wagon, and also the stagecoach comes in this way too. So anyway, oh, by the way, sorry. These two little buildings here are also part of the Earp part of Tombstone too. These were the cottages that were built for the Earps when they arrived in town. That was Wyatt's cottage there, the yellow one there, and the little lower one-story one was Virgil Earp's house. If you remember in the movie, there's a couple of key scenes that take place in those houses. In Virgil's house, it's where all the Earp wives are sitting around and they're playing cards or something like that. And one of the cowboys comes in, bursts into the room, and starts shooting up the place with a shotgun. And that's sort of the beginning of the vendetta. Okay, so that was a crucial scene. And then Wyatt is sitting on his porch, and he sees the funeral progression with the cowboys that were shot at Eopic around. And that goes down this street in that direction too. So when you watch the movie, look for those two scenes. Okay, this is our tonsorial, okay? A tonsorial can be a barbershop. It is a barbershop. It's filming that from the barber pole. They also did dentistry. They bled people in there and all kinds of strange things that happened throughout the Old West. We come now into our gift shop. So when we're through the tour, we'll wind up in that building over there, and you can come over here and spend your little hearts out on souvenirs and so forth of Mescal. Very much encouraged.
Bring your
Right
credit
next
card?
to this, where there's nothing.
Did you bring your credit card?
A big empty space. That was the opium tent in Tombstone. If you remember, Curly Bill gets all looped up on opium. He comes out and he starts shooting all over the place. And Fred White, who is the sheriff of Tombstone, played by Harry Carey Jr., great old Western actor. Anyway, he comes out of the Oriental Saloon and he's confronting Curly Bill and he gets shot. So remember that scene when you watch the movie. Right next to it is what's called the Key West Cigar Shop in Tombstone. But it was also featured in another movie. In fact, these two buildings were an important, critical part, actually, of another movie that was shot out here. Okay, that was a sign shop, and this was what it is now, a mercantile shop. It's called Dyer and Jenkins Dry Goods Store. Okay, in the movie, and in the movie, a very famous celebrity comes to town, played by a very famous actor. And that movie is called, anyone guess?
Josie Wales.
The Outlaw Josie Wales. There you go.
That's
Great.
right.
Yeah, we have a central pivot section of The Outlaw Josie Wales. If you remember the movie, Josie Wales comes to town. He's with his buddy, Chief Dan George. Lone Waddy is his name, and a Navajo woman that's been with them. Josie goes into the building, okay? He's going to buy supplies. On the way in, coincidentally, he bumps into the Kansas family that he's later going to adopt. In fact, he bumps into his future girlfriend, okay? What's her name?
Susan Locke, Sandra Locke.
Sandra Locke, yes. She plays the girl, and after that, they're a couple. Okay. Yeah, Sandra Locke, yes. And so they go in, and he goes in, and he comes out, and he meets in the middle of the street this guy that he's met earlier in the movie, a patent medicine salesman, all dressed in white, okay? And he takes one look at him, and he knows who he is. And suddenly he bellows out, "It's the outlaw, Josie Wales!" And of course, Josie Wales is a celebrity, and that's just got a movie name after him. So everything stops. And Josie gets to that boardwalk right there by that barrel, okay? And out of the out of the saloon, I don't remember what it's called in the Outlaw Josie Wales, but out of the saloon comes 4 Union soldiers, all dressed in their uniforms. And they just stand there. They know who it is. They know they have to do something. And Josie just looks at him, and he comes up with one of the great Clint Eastwood lines. Does anybody know it?
You gonna pull them pistols or whistle Dixie?
Exactly. Unfortunately, they do pull their pistols, and Josie Wales takes out 3 of them. Lone Waddy gets the 4th. then they all skedaddle out of town, skedaddle out of Mescal, and we're done with them. So it's a beautiful little set piece in the middle of the movie. And now when you watch it, you'll see all this stuff. And where you stand. Anybody want to stand where Clint Eastwood stood? Go ahead, do it now, quick. So, all right. Over here by the water. Right there. Pictures. So this is one of the buildings that you can go into. I don't take too much time in there, and obviously don't take anything that's not yours. But yeah, that guy walking by will take care of any people like that. But don't spend too long because I got something special for you. Real quick.
Coffee, bags and stuff, so we might buy a big bag and beans and stuff, and then over there they might have some candy for show. Yeah, they might have some candy
Recently, when Old Tucson went belly up, they were going to tear it down again, and the Karchner family bought it of Karchner Caverns, if you're local, and they're running it now. They're running it as a set and as an attraction, but mostly as a set. So they're dedicating their money to preserving old Western movies, which is just wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing to be doing.
Mark, you hear about the stupid hat sale in there?
I've already got one.
Traded up.
I've already got one. Oh,
Traded up.
Nice,
Got this.
Johnny.
Look at that. Got these things on there. Respectable now.
okay, okay.
Respectable like.
Yeah, okay. I'll take your word for it.
Well, as soon as we get the whole group, I'll explain it to you, because although I'm a retired auctioneer, I don't like to talk. So come on up, folks. You can get a little closer. And don't mind Archibald here. He's our on-site cinematographer. So you guys are all in luck today, because we are going to film a scene from our Mescalians movie of a bank robbery scene. So feel free to take as many pictures and videos as you want. Laughter is a good thing if you feel like laughing, but just don't cross the line. And I'll ask a little quiet on. Hey!
I can hold your hand too.
Okay, we're gonna stick some chewing gum on your nose, and you're gonna have to go in the corner. All right, don't anybody else do that. And we're gonna call for quiet on the set and action.
Have you seen any law dogs in town?
I've been one end of town to the other. I haven't seen them anywhere. Nothing but these tourists.
Well, you know, Rattler, these tourists, they pay your salary.
Salary? Salary, we're volunteers.
Oh, yeah. Well, you get paid what you're worth.
Don't you start, Blondie.
What your word?
You got the horses?
Yeah, boss. Horses hitched up behind the dressmaker next to my truck.
Truck? What's a truck?
That's my horse's name, Truck. He's my truck.
Okay.
Speaking of the dressmaker, was that you just coming out of the dressmaker shop?
Yeah, I was in there.
What were you doing in the dress shop?
Well, I heard ladies' dresses was half off. Yeah, go running in there. Turns out it's just a sale.
Oh, you got that stupid hat?
I just got this at stupid hat sale up at the Mercantile. Respectable.
All right, listen up. Here's what we're gonna do. Short pour,
Yeah.
you go in and create a distraction.
Okay.
Me and Rattler, we're gonna come in and make a withdrawal.
Got it.
Johnny, pay attention. want you to stand out on the porch of the bank, keep an eye out, let us know if anybody's coming.
If I see any trouble, I'll, bird call. Caw-caw! Caw-caw!
You get this edgy.
Chicken wing. Chicken wing.
Oh, he's my wife's second cousin. She forced me to bring him.
Chicken wing.
Bird brain.
Yeah, boss.
Shoot, we'll ask questions later.
Oh, I could do that. I could do that, boss.
Now let's try not to kill anybody or get killed today.
All right. We do that too, boss.
Maybe you not so much.
It took him to the train station.
See what I'm working with, folks. Outside. Put your hands up! Katie! Be quiet!
Listen here, you whippersnapper! Don't you be telling me that! Does your mother know what you...
Come on, folks, I had to shoot her. That voice was obnoxious. I didn't think she'd get the bucket, though.
Caw-caw! Caw-caw!
Where you going,
Caw-caw!
Hold it right there. Drop the guns and hand over the money.
No one else needs to die. We'll just overlook this unfortunate incident. She was kind of obnoxious anyway.
Who are you, the over the hill gang?
U.S. Marshals.
Chicken wing! Chicken wing!
Where did you get that in?
Clemswood.
Mike, well, don't do nothing stupid like him. You boys might live a little longer.
You want the money, Marshal? Yeah. Well, come and get it. Hey, Daddy, you're supposed to be dead.
Short poor Sally!
Hi!
Guess what I heard?
What?
I heard that there's a sale at that dressmaker shop.
And I have lots of money.
Oh my gosh, we should just go shopping.
Let's go.
The actors, stuntmen, and bird brain of the Mescalians. Can't wait to stop them from running. Sorry about the bird that flew out of the sky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was good to see you.
Yeah, I'm still over in the box.
All right.
Take care.
So how many people are from Tucson? They read the article in the Tucson Daily Star this morning about the true unfortunate incident that happened in Santa Fe with Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to take a second here to tell you that there are extreme safety measures taken on the Mescal set with regards to firearms. Everybody that brings a firearm onto the set has to have it checked out. Most of them are replicas, they don't shoot anyway. If you're engaged in skits like this, then you have to go through training. And you might have noticed they weren't actually shooting at people, they were shooting near people. Yeah, so that's part of the training. Also, in that building are all the blanks that are used, and everything is checked out at the beginning of the day by our armorers. And nobody goes into that building but people that are in the skits or the armorers. So I can't take you in there. It's really nice interior, but we're using that as an area for firearms and so forth. Come on, you can cross the line now. This is one of our grand old ladies of the set. It's the hotel, the Grand Hotel in Tombstone. And it has a long history at Mescal. It was first built and located down there at the end of the street for a movie called Dirty Dingus McGee. Anybody ever heard or seen that movie? You do? Yes. Frank Sinatra, that great Western star, made this movie, or he was featured in this movie, along with George Kennedy and a whole host of folks. Anyway, this building was a brothel. Like a lot of the ladies of the Old West, kind of started out in sort of snaky terms. But anyway, they moved her over to here and turned her into a hotel after Dirty Dingus McGee. That was for another movie that was made here by director John Huston, who also made The Maltese Falcon that I talked about earlier. And that starred Paul Newman in it. Does anybody know that? It actually just went through its 50-year anniversary. Anybody know that movie? Ava Gardner was in it. It was called The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean. Yeah, right. And they actually, in one of the climatic scenes, climatic or climactic? Important scenes in the movie, there was actually a horse up on that balcony. They built a ramp in the back of the building and walked that horse up there. We'll talk about Hollywood horses through the rest of this tour. They're amazing. They're smarter than the people that own them. But whatever the case, they got that horse up there. So go in there, take a look around. It was in Tombstone. There's a couple of really interesting scenes that were shot. Josephine Marcus was shot in here. One of her key scenes. Once again, take a look around, but keep moving. We've got a lot of stuff to see. We dressed this set out, as they say in Hollywood, with a whole lot of different things that we work with. We cleaned out everybody's out. All these things there. Nice. There's Les, one of our other historians, behind the bar. I don't think he's got any glue back there.
Funny.
Now, I want to also point out the fact that this upper story is finished out. You can't go up there now because it's in a state of disrepair. But there are rooms along the front here that were actually in the movie Tombstone. Oh. Yeah. One of our legends, Emily Blanton, who sometimes comes out here to talk about her movie making career, she was in a scene in Tombstone where her and another woman are in bed with one of the cowboys, and Doc Holliday bursts in and shoots one of the guys. So she can tell you all about it. It's pretty interesting. So let's keep going. By the way, this is another one of our legends here. I'll let him introduce himself to you individually with all of his stories.
Well, I got a lot of slides. I actually got to work in a few movies out there once upon a time. So, thank you all for coming. Hope you enjoyed the show.
The yellow building over there, that was called the Dragoon Saloon in Tombstone. And when you watch the movie, look for the scene where Wyatt Earp is hanging a couple of cowboys from a sign there. The gallows wasn't available. Okay. Speaking of gallows, in the back there, that two-story building, that was the sheriff's office in Tom Horn. Okay, if you've seen the movie, you'll remember that Tom Horn gets arrested for supposedly murdering a young kid. And Slim Pickens plays the sheriff. He's in that sheriff's office there, and they put Tom Horn in a jail cell in the upper story. And right next to it was the gallows where they hung him. I don't want to spoil the ending of the story for you, but that's what actually happens. This building here was used in the made-for-TV movie Stagecoach. It was used as a bar. I think at another point in the movie it was a church, and it was used in Tombstone for a very unique building. At the very end, the last scene between Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday takes place where? in a sanatorium. Yeah, in Glenwood Springs, which is where Doc Holliday actually died. And if you were in that building, we can't go in anymore, but if you were in that building, you'd see the walls are painted white, and at the very back is where the bed was that Doc Holliday did. This building here was the Can restaurant in Tombstone. Okay, there's a great scene there where Curly Bill and Ike Clanton and Johnny Ringo are sitting out on that porch there, and they're taking the dead Earps, well, the one dead Earp, Morgan, and the wounded Earp, Virgil, out of Tombstone, and Wyatt Earp says, "It's over, I'm through with this whole thing, you know, the fight's over." And Curly Bill looks at him and what does he say?
Goodbye.
Well, bye.
Bye.
Sort of disrespectful, but it's actually not goodbye, because he turns to Ike Clanton and says, "Head to Tucson and finish the job." And that's where the real vendetta gets started, because Wyatt Earp realizes it's never going to be over. Okay, the bank building was part of the Young Riders TV show. And this building over here was the Jersey Lily Saloon in the life and times of Judge Roy Bean, and this is where he held court. He held court in this saloon. So let's continue on down, and I want to show you guys the way they set up the wall in Tombstone. Remember, before the gunfight takes place at Tombstone, or at the OK Corral, the Earps walk through town with Doc Holliday, and it's like a classic scene from westerns. 4 gunfighters, 4 abreast, walking down the street, and it seems like they go on forever, because you know, the streets in Allen Street in Tombstone is a long street, but the reality is, you can see it's pretty short. So they moved the camera around to extend it. It's part of what you might call movie magic, you know, where using the camera in a special way can sort of change your perspective and make things look different than they are. Oriental Saloon, and we'll get back to that in a second, but I want you to stand right here and look at that, so that you have a point of view in your mind when you watch the movie again. Okay, the Earps are coming down the street. They make the turn on the 4th Street. They're headed for Fremont Street, which is that dirt road over there. And all sorts of stuff starts happening. George Cosmatos, the director, was trying to build up the passion, the tension in the movie, get everybody excited. There's a shot back here. A kid comes in and he shoots with a cap pistol at the Earps, and you know, jars everybody. And they shoot back this way, and that's where you see that in Tombstone, the livery stable was built up as the theater. Yeah, and you can see the false front of the theater from this angle. Okay, the theater. Birdcage Theater, right? Yeah, sure. So the Birdcage Theater is right there. That false front. Remember this shot, so when you watch the movie, you can do that. And what's in the background? What's in the background when they shoot the birdcage from this? Anyone remember? There's a building on fire. Right in the middle of the OK Corral shootout, something caught on fire and burned up. That was part of Cosmatos' attempt to sort of stir things up and build the tension. I don't know. To me, he didn't need it. But anyway, let's keep going. This is about the spot where Johnny Behan, the marshal, sheriff which is kind of Johnny Behan, comes running out, and he says to the Earps, I've disarmed the cowboys. They're okay. You can go home and relax and sit on the porch. And Virgil Earp just brushes him off and goes off. Well, Behan runs into that building over there. That building was Fly's Photographic Studio. That's where Josie Marcus played by Dana Delaney, was taking pictures. She having pictures taken. That actually was happening. She did take a bunch of pictures. Clad, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't there. Anyway, let's go down 4th Street here. Josie Marcus was an actual person, of course, just like a lot of the people. And she did marry Wyatt Earp. Moved to California. She's buried in Colma, California, in a Jewish cemetery because she was Jewish, and she got Wyatt Earp converted or something, so he's buried right next to her. Yeah. Yes. I visited because a friend of my dad lived there. So that's kind of important. I remember the movie, line of buildings, false front buildings for the movie. Stone Epigraph is over there. The Chinese section of town is over there. People see the Earps coming and they know a fight is on the way, so everybody's getting very excited. Now, you look over there, that rundown looking building over there, that was used in a movie, I think it was in 97, a made-for-TV movie called Buffalo Soldiers, or Buffalo Soldiers. Yeah, and it starred Danny Glover. That was supposed to be a fort in New Mexico. And, unfortunately, it's even more run down than this place was when it first came into Archer's hands. We don't know what we're going to do with it. I was talking to somebody this morning that said one producer wants to burn it down and another one wants to fix it up. So we got competing ones. Also, yeah, it's going to pay for it. This is also the area here. Scenes options. He escapes from jail at
Yeah, she was just explaining about it.
very quick. So that's the area that we ran through. It's this area back here. Okay. So here we are at the climax. The Earps and Doc Holliday turn the corner and they arrive here at the Oakley Corral. And as you know, this is where the confrontation takes place. The Earps are lined up here. We've got the Cowboys over there. We've got Tom and Frank McLowry. We've got Billy Clayton. We've got Ike Clayton and Billy Claiborne. Okay. There were more Cowboys at the beginning. They ran off, and those are the ones that are left. The Earps are standing here, four abreast. The tension is insane. Everybody's frozen in place with their hands on their guns. Okay, they're all staring each other down. The script says something like Wyatt realizes what's going to happen and says, "Oh my God!" And at that moment, what happens?
Doc Holliday winks.
Before that,
Doc Holliday winks.
Doc Holliday winks at Billy Clanton. Why? Who knows? I don't think that happened in real life. But anyway, that breaks the tension. They both pull their guns. Everybody pulls their guns. They start shooting. Ike Clanton runs over to Wyatt Earp and says, "I'm unarmed. I'm unarmed." And Wyatt says, "Well, get armed or get out." Ike runs into the building there. He grabs Johnny Behan's gun, breaks out the window, starts shooting wildly at the Earps, and then runs off. Finally gets down to Frank McLowry has Doc Holliday in his sights. He thinks that Holliday has no more bullets left, and he says to him, "I've got you, Doc Holliday." And what does Doc Holliday say? Come on.
What's he say, honey?
you're a daisy if you do. And he shoots. And Morgan, who's on the ground, shoots too. And the last of them gets shot. So we've got 3 dead cowboys, Frank and Tom McClowry and Billy Clanton dead. Billy Claiborne survives. Ike Clanton survives. And Morgan is hit, Virgil is hit, and Wyatt Earp, as was the case throughout his entire life, is not even scratched by a bullet. Johnny Bayine comes out and tries to arrest them. He says, "You're not going to arrest me today, I don't think." So, and that's the end of the great shootout. So, spend some time here, take some pictures if you want. We're going to go through that way and head back out through 4th Street.
Watch out for the steaming divot.
Very simple. Somebody on the last tour asked me about these adobe walls. In the movie, they were much more built up. Over time, they kind of crumbled, but yeah, they were there. Oh, another thing I should point out is the movie Tombstone was filmed in July and August. Anybody around here been in Arizona in July and August? Yeah, a lot of trouble with that. They use something called candy glass to make windows that are going to be broken out, okay? So in the scene where Ike Clanton is breaking out these windows, the windows were like warping and like falling apart from the heat. Wow. And they went over and over and over again. I think somebody told me they spent more money making candy glass for this scene than on anything else in the scene. Wow. So it was a real mess. Also, if you remember, Doc Holliday, what does he look like? He's got a coat on and he's got long underwear underneath the coat. Now, he's not as fancy as he usually is. And I always notice the fact that it's like soaked with perspiration. Okay, that was not an attempt to show a person having fever from consumption. That was real sweat. They were all wearing wool coats in July and August in Arizona. And so, again, I'll let you absorb some of that. Val it was the sheriff's office. In Tom Horn, it was the marshal's office, okay? And if you've seen the movie, remember I said Tom Horn was arrested for killing a kid, okay? And it was a trumped-up charge. Most people believe it was a trumped-up charge, because that was actually what happened. Anyway, they get him into the marshal's office here, and he tricks him into making a confession, or what they called a confession in the trial of Tom Horn. Tom Horn, he says something about shooting the kid, and Tom Horn just looks at him and says, "Well, if I did kill that kid, it would have been the best shot I'd ever made in my life, and the meanest trick I'd ever played." Now, I don't think that's a confession, but unfortunately the judge and the jury did, and that was the end of Tom Horn. In Tombstone, they jumped a horse through this window. Okay, look for that scene when you see it again. There's a bunch of cowboys there. I think it's a barber shop or something like that. They jumped the horse in, and it was a tricky scene because, like I said about horses, they know what's going on usually in most of these things. They've done enough trick shots, stunt shots, and so forth. And there was some reluctance on the horse to jump into the window. But anyway, let's keep going. To the sign on it now. But this building has been a saloon or brothel or some kind of a bar through most of the history of the Spa. There was the Harmony Saloon originally, and it was probably most important in the movie Tombstone, where it was the Oriental Saloon. Okay. This is where Wyatt Earp had a sparrow table. Or there's a confrontation between him and Billy Bob Thornton. What does he say to Billy Bob Thornton? You're just gonna sit there and bleed? Anyway, so it's also where there's the Latin duel between Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday and the twirling of the cup and the twirling of the gun. There's all kinds of key scenes that took place in there. Just kind of remember that, and the fact that the door is on the diagonal like this, and you'll be able to place it when you get to the movie. And so I've taken inside, but there's really not much left inside. Originally, there was a bar that moved back and forth so they could get more room. Cosmatos wanted room to shoot. All these guys, they like big empty spaces to shoot in when it comes to buildings. So you got to be very adaptable with these sets. Now, the building next to it was various things, but it was a billiards parlor in Tombstone. Campbell and anyway, it was a billiards parlor. I'll think of it. The billiards parlor, and that's where Morgan Earp met his fate. Okay, he was shot in the back. He falls onto the table. They're trying to get the bullet out, and he finally died. Okay, Wyatt Earp, Kurt Russell comes out, and he's like covered with blood, and he's distraught with sadness and weeping about his brother, and he stands right here in the middle of this spot with blood on his hands, and Josie Marcus tries to comfort him, and different people come running up to him, and it's in the middle of a rainstorm. Okay, now a lot of people notice when they watch that movie that it's only raining on him. You look up the street, it's dry in that direction, it's dry all around him, but he's in the rainstorm. And this is very famous because Kurt Russell was furious when he saw the dailies on this shot. They couldn't reproduce it, but it was obvious that, you know, it was fake rain. Now, we always like to say, this is Arizona. It can rain buckets on you and be dry just a little ways away. Yeah. Usually not that tight, though. Recently, we had one of the grips from Tombstone here in town, and I asked him about that scene. And he said, what happened was this. They had the shot set perfectly so that it disguised the fact that he only had one rain machine raining on him. They had it all fixed up. And Cosmatos, who was notorious on this movie and other movies for being a crazy SOB, said at the last minute, let's change the angle. Well, then the Rainmaker wasn't set up right. So that's how they got the dry area behind them. It was set up the correct way. And that's probably why Russell got so angry was, you know, we spent all that time to get it right. And again, that's what I was saying earlier about the walk is the angles of cameras can create a completely different reality. And a movie set like this is only the raw material. And the camera person is the person that puts it all together and makes it real. Okay? Remember I said William Franker built this town for Monty Walsh. William Franker was the cinematographer on Tombstone. So this set was created by somebody who knew a lot about how you create things with a camera. So let's finish this off. Now, I'm going to talk about 5 movies that are really important in the history of this film. Outlaw Josie Wentz, Tom Ford. I didn't mention much about one of the other ones, which is The Quick and the Dead. The Quick and the Dead was kind of like a feminist Clint Eastwood movie where Sharon Stone played a woman with no name who was out to seek vengeance on the people that killed her father. So she comes to town, and there's a big gunfight contest going on, organized by the boss of the town, Gene Hackman. He's called Dread or something like that in the movie. Judge. Well, whatever. Anyway, Gene Hackman has his house at the end of the street, and there's a big fountain in the middle where Russell Crowe is chained up, and the livery stable doubles as a hotel. And this is the saloon that Sharon Stone designed for the movie. She was the producer. She was the one that got Leo DiCaprio to play the kid in it, the gunsmith. By the way, that was the gunsmith shop right there. So most of this end of the town reflects the quick and the dead. Okay. Now in the corner over there was the clock that timed out the gunfight. When it hit the mark, then they were supposed to draw. And the clock that was in the clock tower is the clock that you saw at the beginning of the tour. Okay, we don't have a tower for it yet, but hopefully, maybe we will. I don't know if we'll get it to run, but anyway. It's kind of the crown jewel of the Mescal. The one you can see from the highway. So as you drive by on the highway, look for the Redemption Saloon. The town, by the way, was called Redemption. There is an upper story to this. It's not finished out yet.
Very good.
Right now it's leaking. And if you want something to drink, our bartender is present. Bar is open. Bar open.
Bars open. We got coffee, sarsaparilla, beer.
You got Panther? Old Panther?
Oh, he's glad.
Sorry if you don't have a license. Anyway, look around and stuff. And this is the end of the tour, so I'd like to thank you guys for coming out and letting us show off the town for you.